All right, welcome to the Sweet Talk. Today is Friday, May 15th, right? May
Yep, that's
15th.
it.
Oh my goodness. May 15th, 2020. And I am your host, Kim Matina, and I am a Google certified trainer and educator, as well as a gold product expert and a technology teacher. And this is a shout out to my friend Jesse because he said I should say it, and that I am an author as well to
Yay.
my new book called Stepping Up to Google Classroom that Alice Keeler and I wrote. So I did it. I did it, Jesse. I did that just for you. So, welcome to the show, Pam. I'm so happy to have you on.
It's good to be on again.
Yeah, so Pam comes to us from South Carolina. She is
Mhm.
an instructional coach in a K-8 school district or school. This is her 23rd year in education, and she's been a special education teacher in an elementary and middle school, as well as a first grade teacher and a
Mhm.
personalized learning coach.
Yes.
Pam is a Google certified trainer. She is a Wakelet ambassador, and I know she does a lot of moderation with Casey Bell in her
Mhm.
Shake Up Learning community group. And she is the co moderator for PD for You and Me on Twitter every Saturday from 8:30 to 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time in the morning. And she also has a blog, spedtechgeek.com, where she shares all of her resources and
Mhm.
information about technology integration. So thanks for joining, Pam. I'm so happy to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
I have to say I'm so thankful that you and I agreed on Monday to reschedule
Yes,
the show.
we weren't feeling it.
We weren't feeling it, and we were honest with each other, and we told each other, we were really burnt out from the day. We had a lot of other stuff going on, and it wouldn't have been fair to each other and to the audience to do a half-ass show. So that's why we rescheduled it for Friday afternoon. So thank you for being honest, and that's how we have to be honest with each other these days, and I appreciate it. So thank you.
Of course.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? I know you introduced, I introduced you, but
Mhm.
tell us what you do and what you're going to go over today.
Okay. Well, the another benefit of waiting is I've started to create a coaching choice board for myself to use, just because I found myself helping teachers at random times, and it wasn't as easy to figure out who needed what and when, especially in a K-8 school. We have over 60 teachers, and there's only one of me. So, and that's a wide range of grade levels and just different skills that they need. We don't have a technology coach, so I kind of end up being that person as well. And it's kind of hard to separate instruction and technology anymore anyway. So it's really just, as we always talk about, how we use the technology for instruction. So that is why I came up with the coaching choice board. And then this week, I was able to write a guest blog post for Teach Boost on the coaching choice board. So it worked out well because now I can share that with everybody. But it's just it's an overview of what it is, how I use it. But I thought today I can kind of get into more of how I create it. And like the tools that I use, because it's Google Slides, Google Drawings, Google Forms. I mean, there's a lot of tools that you kind of mix together for some app smashing to make it work. So,
Well, I am so, I think this is a great topic to share because anybody that is in ed tech right now, whether you're a technology
mhm,
teacher or a technology coach or a technology specialist. Right now, like we're all getting, pulled in different directions to provide professional development and trainings for staff and, just to support them or whatnot. So I think this actually comes in at a good time because it'll allow the attendees of your training session to pick what they want and what their needs are,
mhm.
and then you can kind of zone in and target that, and they can actually, it's self-paced, right? I'm thinking it's
Yeah.
self-paced. so they can go through it themselves. So I think this is, for me, I'm really interested to see how you laid it out, and in hopes that I can implement something like this as well, because like I said, I think it's, the times in education now, I think things are just very demanding on
Right.
people in our position. And if you can kind of have some type of handle on it
Hmm.
and give choice and allow them to control their own learning and kind of, you know, organize it and then give it back to them, I think it takes away from, it takes you out of the equation and
Right.
you give them the control. So
Mhm.
um, I'm really curious to see what you did. So
Yeah.
thank
Yeah. And it's good for teachers too, because just to see how I use it as a coach, they can also, because, I mean, once you go in, you might get one little tip and be like, oh, I know how I can use this. And just seeing how you can get kids to go through a slide template and get to different things that they want to, you could use it really for anybody. But so just the structure of it can be used by anybody. So.
exactly. Good point. Good point.
Yeah. Okay, but then I'll share my screen so that way I can and I'm going to show you um, my actual slide version. In the notes, I think we'll have a template that teachers can or coaches can make a copy of. But I'll just go through mine so that way you can see. Hold on a second. Okay. So you can see what mine looks like overall. Let's see. I will present this just so that way you can see this image that I have here. I did do that in Google Drawings so that way I could have this as a background. And how I came up with all these different topics was based on things that were basically that the expectations I already had as a coach, the things I had to do as far as like modeling and research, lesson planning, evaluation support. So like the rubric that they have to use when they get evaluated, just data analysis. And then we also are a school that's starting to implement some personalized learning, and there are different components of it. So there's student ownership, there's learner profiles, there's learning pathways, and flexible learning. So I kind of wanted to make sure people had a choice as to basically where they're starting, because they may not be ready for all of it. So this way they can choose. The dynamic learning framework, and the reason why I have this here is that we had Casey Bell come to our school last October. So choice boards became a really big thing after that, because that's the easiest way to jump on. And so the dynamic learning framework was one of the things that we started using to start integrating technology into our daily lessons, which was quite timely. And then all my Google stuff, of course, Google Classroom, Google Drive, Google Forms, Sheets, Drawings, Slides, Sites. And then I have one that's just a coaching cycle if they want to work on planning or if they want to work on instruction, their environment, professionalism. And really, that's just basically becoming that lifelong learner and always trying to get better. And then blogging I kind of wanted to make sure that if teachers wanted to share what was going on, I kind of want to get them inspired to do some blogging on their own or using social media or just mentoring in general. And that way, the mentoring in general would just be, what do you need? Anything. If it's not one of these choices, then just tell me what you need.
Right.
I
You
have
will
that
put it
here.
there. Right.
Yeah. So those are all my basic ones. And then all I did was I just created it as a background. So you know how you can choose an image to add a background. So I added that as a background. And then if I click on this box, you can see it says slide 2. And then this is slide 3. There's nothing in that box. It's really just a transparent box on top of the picture. So if somebody was to make a copy of this, they could just change the background, and then these would automatically go to the other slides. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yeah. So the background you said you did in Google Drawings, and
Uh-huh.
then you downloaded that as a PNG file,
Yes.
and then you added that as the background for the entire presentation, or is it just for?
Just for the slide, and then I just duplicated it. So I think if you did, because since it's linked to slides, like if I click on here, actually I'll do somewhere further in, slide 9, I'll click on that and it will go to slide 9. And I'll just click present one more time. So then it gives a description of what it is. And I added a little house. This is from the Noun Project, which is like the best thing ever.
Yeah, that's actually a really good resource.
It really is. And this one, I do have a paid version, but I do have it where it's cited. So then if you just click on that little house, it goes back to the main screen.
Oh, okay. So it goes back to home.
Yes. So if they're just kind of trying to see what it is that they want, if I click on here, you can see the description pops up, like what ideas, what that might mean, go back to home. And then if the sign up here, oh, hold on, let me see.
So this presentation file is basically a menu.
Yes.
So they click on an option and then a description comes up and then they go back to the menu, the choice board.
Right. And so if someone was using this template, they would just change the description, but the slides would stay the same. So once you change your background, you could just change the description per page and they're just linked to go back home.
Right.
And then let's see. Okay, one of the things I have on here, oh, that's just for coaching. So let me go back. I'll present.
I really like the layout of that.
Thanks. Linking it is probably the hardest part, is going back and just linking it to each page, which is why the template should be helpful, because then all you have to do is change your background. It's already linked. And then let me just go back home. Okay, so they get this, and I have this linked in at the bottom of my email signature, but then I also have it on a Google site. That's my coaching site. I have it all sorts of places.
For staff to be able to access it, right?
Exactly. Okay. And so I've got this little sign up here button, and if you click on that, it goes to the Google form, and it's just a choice board request. I do have a doc linked here, and this actually goes to, hold on a second. This is basically what we got as instructional coaches, kind of our expectations, which, I want people to know what the expectations are of me, because some of the things we have control over and some we don't. So like everything in blue is something that I kind of have some control over in the building, where some of the other ones I don't have an option, but I want them to know that that's there. And that is linked. So if you want to make a copy of it and use it, update it for your own, that's fine. It's just a nice way to be transparent about what the expectation is that you have anyway. And then, so this is a Google form, and basically they can pick, after they're looking at the slides, they can pick, let's say I want to work on personalized learning. And then I pick that, go to next, based on that option. So I have it branching, and I can show you the edited version so that way you can see what that looks like. But then it goes to the personalized learning. Now within personalized learning, which area are you ready to work on? Are you ready to work on student ownership, learner profiles, pathways, or flexible learning environment? So I'm going to do student ownership. Click next. And then all it does is, how can I support you in the area you chose, and additional questions or concerns, and submit. So it's super short on their end. I'm going to open my form that I can edit, just so that way you can see all the branching options. Let's see. Okay. So here
you made a Google form, and you created sections.
Yes.
Right. So based on the question, the response of the question, it'll jump to a specific section.
Yes. So this is another part that was a little time consuming, and but once it's set up, it's only 4 questions for the teachers.
Right.
So that was what I really wanted it to be, is super simple for somebody to fill out. And that way I know what they need. And I also I can keep track of it. So you can see how like modeling goes to section 5, like all these different things, support description, and then you can continue the next bit. So here's one section, personalized learning. And based on what they chose here, it goes to another section.
So, yeah. Google Forms, the branched Google Forms they're time consuming.
They are time consuming. And I do wish, and I don't know, maybe you know how an easy way to make a copy of a form easily where somebody could use it. But I feel like the only way, at least the only way I know, is usually that you can add them as a collaborator and then they can make a copy. But unless you know of another way to do that.
I did read something somewhere that you can make a copy of it, but off the top of my head, I don't
Right.
remember.
Well, somebody can help us, I'm sure.
Yeah. Somebody knows, put it into the comment in the
Yes,
in the
definitely.
video. But yeah, I don't know where I read it. I don't remember. I don't have a good memory. Unless I'm doing it all the time, I
Right.
forget. But yeah, I branched Google Forms. They're a lot of work when you're
Mhm.
creating them because you have to test and make sure that the flow and the
Right.
logic is all correct. But it is really super cool.
It is cool. And then, of course, I get to see, I only filled it out once myself, like as an example. Then I can kind of see what the percentage of my time is spent. So this is good data for your admin or good data for you. Or even if you have to rationalize your position.
Sometimes we have to do that too.
Yeah, you do. So, and then I just have, of course, all the answers. I can see in the Google form, in the Google sheet. And then I always add a checkbox. So that way, as I go through and follow up, I can make sure I could just click the little checkbox. And I know I've already either talked to the teacher or whatever. And I do have it set where it notifies me if somebody fills it out.
Right. So
Yeah.
let me ask you something, Pam. When somebody fills out the form
Mhm.
and they don't remember, like you showed in your example, personalized learning, and then there was four choices.
Right.
They don't remember what they went to before. Like if they picked one and they completed it, but now it's like 3 months later and they want to do another one, and they
Right.
don't remember what they did, 3 months ago. Do
I
they
do
ask you?
I actually have, and I can show that too, but in the Google form, I actually have it where it collects the email address. And then I have it where the response request is automatically sent out. So that way whatever they filled out, they got an email also.
Okay.
So then at least they have record of what they asked for. And I would follow up right away anyway. And then I keep track of that stuff myself, just in my own coaching notes. So that way, if they did fill it out again, I would still touch base with them anyway. And,
So you would have to actually check the form and, go through or sort it out and go through the responses.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I guess I could try to get creative and have different copies, but I think it's easier to sort things in a Google sheet.
Yeah, I
try to create anything else like that. But
yeah, I agree. I wouldn't make it any more complicated than you need it to be. You know what I mean?
right.
So then where do you put any of your information about the session into the response sheet or somewhere for documentation? And so what do you do after it's over?
This is where, so once we go through our, like our cycle, like I get to meet with them and then we set up a plan, then I would just link, I can do the individual responses and I can always link that. I have a Google sheet that has a tab for each teacher. And so I could just link their response, save it as a PDF and just link it as their option. So I guess technically I could show the teachers that way too, because of course anything that I type up, I show them too, just so that way they know what it is that I keep track of. I don't want them to feel like I'm, saving things just to show admin or something like that. So
yeah. So all of your interactions with a teacher when they fill out this form is face to face. Well, typically face to face.
Yeah, typically face to face. So as soon as they fill it out, then I would touch base with them. And then we would actually sit down and make a plan as far as if it's going to be something that I have to come in to help them out with, or if it might just be resources or, so we go from there and that would be the face to face. I guess now it could be, like an email touch base, maybe schedule a Google Meet. It would just depend on, I guess, which one they were asking for. I mean, modeling, that might be a little bit harder right now. But most of the options I have in there are fairly easy to do, at least with a Google Meet, for them to understand what it is that they want to do next or what their plan is.
Right, right. Yeah, well, that's actually, it's a creative way to offer choice for teachers or staff.
Right.
Now, do you survey them to get the topics for the choice board?
That's I have originally, and then I do a potty PD for the school anyway. And so in that, I do have a question that I ask them as far as like, what do you need more of? Was this helpful? So I just ask a few questions here and there. Um, so I can use that, but then for the most part, because there are so many options in there, um, a lot of it is something that it's kind of general anyway, like the Google PD stuff. It might be something specific to what they need, like subject area wise, but it's still, I want to use Google Classroom, or I want to use Google Drive, or like when it comes to just lesson planning in general, that's pretty general. So our
Right, right,
conversation can kind of set that up.
right.
And I did, let me see. Okay, I can share my screen one more time because I have the actual choice board, the Google Drawing one.
Okay.
So that way I could share that too. Okay. Okay, so this is the coaching bingo board. And basically it's just had, each of these are squares. So if somebody even wanted to use this template, they could just type in each box and change what it is that they want. This is just my little Bitmoji, little school hashtag. This one right here, I don't have the sign up, click here to sign up. That's not on here because you can always add that if you want to. So each of those are just little squares. You know how you can create the shapes and their text boxes? That's
Yeah.
basically what I did. So that way I can kind of spread them out evenly. And I can change the text. And then I just do the file download as a PNG. And then I can just put that as my background in slides.
Yeah. I think it's clever. I think it's a nice way to give the choice back to the staff. Um,
Yeah.
I would probably, see and read their request, and then if they had a request that I already like maybe did
Mm-hmm.
a training on, I would refer them to the YouTube playlist.
Right. You could do that for sure.
You can put links. I would think you would be able to put links
Mm-hmm.
somewhere, and then
Right.
give them the YouTube playlist or whatnot, and then they can watch those videos on their own.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
And I do have Wakelet because with the potty PD that I do, and I think that's what we were talking about last time we did a podcast together. I did the potty PD with Wakelet. And so I always have that version that I can send to them as well. And a lot of the trainings I do all put together in one. So it's easy to share kind of a collection or like you said, a playlist or whatever. So there's lots of ways you can get it to them.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. You just have to find what works for you and
Mhm.
just stick with it. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel when you have something that's working well.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and I think like I may need to adapt to something like this. Seeing that in the situation that we're in with the virtual learning and remote learning or whatnot, I may end up maybe borrowing
Yeah.
your template and then just tweaking it for my needs,
Right.
because I use Google Classroom as a platform
Mhm.
for teachers, and I put all of my resources in there and collaborate with them in there, sharing material posts and announcements and different resources. So like that's kind of my hub for them.
Right.
But you know, I like having the choice.
Right.
That's what I'm coming up with the topics right now based on the need,
Mhm.
but I'm not giving them a choice. Like I'm giving them a choice of a schedule that
Right.
I planned out the
Yeah.
topics for. I didn't give them the choice to create the topic. If they say, "Hey,
Right.
kid, I need to learn how to do this," of course I'll put it in my schedule.
Right.
But I'm not giving them like like a choice board.
Hmm.
You know
Yeah.
what?
And this one, I think I use more towards because even thinking about new teachers, they don't even know what they need. So
Right.
it's like, okay, what are some of my options? Or we have an instructional coach. What does that mean? What does she do?
Yeah,
She
and then
doesn't have a class. She can go to the bathroom whenever she wants. That's really the main thing they notice.
but you know what? I like that whole idea, even using it as like the classroom teacher and using it with
Right.
your students.
Hmm.
So like even if you take the coaching out of it and you use
Right.
it with your students, how cool is that to allow them to pick an option and then go to a branched Google form to
Right.
create like a digital story or
Hmm.
an adventure or something.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, you
Or
know.
all the different breakout EDUs,
Yeah.
or I mean, you could type anything in there, and I mean, you could change the color and have it where all the reading is pink, all the math is blue, or I mean, there's so many things you can do with it because it's really just a choice board, but has a little bit more purpose to each one. It's almost like a hyperdoc, but not quite.
Yeah, I was thinking that before. It's like a hyper slide. I'm thinking it as a
Right.
hyper slide
Mhm.
because you got the main slide and dog, sorry. Because you have the main slide and then you're actually clicking on the link to read the description. You know what
Right.
I mean? So
Mhm.
which is really cool. I really do like that. But yeah, definitely if you don't mind, like share
Mhm.
your template and your
Yeah.
Google drawing file if you don't mind, and then at least it'll give me something to tweak and think about moving forward for my staff in September. And at least give them more flexibility on what their needs
Right.
are.
Yeah, I'll share everything in there. The Google drawings, so that way it'll force to make a copy, change the color, change whatever. The only thing we have to figure out is how to make a copy of the form, but
I
easily.
I'll look it up. I think
Yeah.
there is a way to make a copy of it. I just not off the top of my head. I don't know
Right.
how to do it because I
Yeah.
don't use Google Forms in that respect where I make a copy of it. But I read it somewhere that you can. So when we
Right.
disconnect, we will. I'm going to look at that.
Okay. You can ask Alice. She'll know.
And you know what? Yeah, and well, of course, she would definitely know. But I don't know if I read it on her blog or if
Right.
it was somewhere else. I saw it somewhere,
Okay.
and I
We'll
just
figure it
don't
out
don't
because
remember.
that would save a lot. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
once it's all created, all you have to do is change your areas, like what the
the
text
topics.
says.
Yeah,
So then people wouldn't have to do as much because it does take a long time. And I use I'll do an incognito window
yeah,
and
test it out.
then and test it that way, so that way I can make sure it links the right way because it's hard to do it in your head without
Yeah,
clicking
no,
through and making sure it works.
definitely have to click through it and make sure it all works. I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, when we disconnect, I'm gonna look it
Okay.
up.
Yeah.
So,
That'll be great.
but thanks for sharing. I think
Of
that
course.
was a clever and a great idea to share, and I appreciate you taking the time to go over all that. What
I
I'm
hope
gonna
it wasn't too confusing.
I followed you.
Okay.
I'm hoping that others did as well. I if I'm able to follow you and go
Okay.
through it, then you're good.
Good.
So, what I'm gonna do now is just wrap up the show real quick.
Okay.
Let me share my screen real fast. Right. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
All right. So, whoops, wrong website. So, if you want to visit the Sweet Talk, you can go to my website at thesweettalk.com, and you will see on the homepage the latest episode of the Sweet Talk. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on Twitter at the Tech Lady. You can subscribe on podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Google Podcast as well, and sign up for the newsletter. But you'll see the latest episode and podcast here. The new Stepping Up to Google Classroom book is out, written by me and Alice Keeler. It's available on Amazon. It's a great beginner's book to help people get started using Google Classroom. You can see all the latest episodes on the episode page. You can watch or listen as well. Um, you can also find out more about Jamboard. If you click on the Jamboard page, you'll see all of my resources in Wakelet. I just wrote an article for Equipped digital magazine about Jamboard. And if you are using Jamboard, please share your idea with me. I'd love to have your idea featured in my idea for Jamboard resource. So this is the form for that. And basically, that's it. So with that said, let me go back to Pam. And here I am. So thanks again, Pam, for being on. I really appreciate it, and I am, grateful for you to reschedule and to make
Yeah,
it today. So
it
thank you.
worked out better for sure.
It definitely worked out better. So thanks again, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.
Bye.